bloom. I just don't know when, I just don't know how, but this is where I am going to bloom and bear the fruits that honor my God and my Savior. So here, we must look at ourselves. Although we are insignificant, God can make us something with some amount of significance if we are willing to be invested in God's program. Invested in God's program. That's the key here, beloved. And then another thing that we find here that, let's just read the verse again, okay? Verse, the kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, pay attention to that phrase. When it is grown. Do you find the word if there? Do you find?
No.
Does it say if it is grown?
No.
No, it says when. So when means it's just a matter of time. Maybe, Pastor, a matter of time would be 20 years. But who cares? It's God's program, and we are just His instruments. Maybe 2 years. Maybe 3 years. You are celebrating your 2nd anniversary. So we are just starting. I don't know what blessings and successes and victories there are in store on your 3rd year as a church. But it will be there. Because God says, when? He didn't say if. You know, that's what I like about God. With God, we might be discounted as losers by the people of the world. We might be discounted as failures by the people of the world. But our labor is never in vain. You know, when I go to a church, many times the pastor would apologize and say, Brother Valdez, we're so sorry we have so few people today. And I said, brother, I did not come to preach to those who are absent. I came to preach to those who are present. So whoever they are, however few, however many they might be, I came here, God has sent me here, God has called me here to preach on this particular day and hour to whoever the people there are. You know the largest crowd I preached to? One person. I was working in the mines before I met your pastor. I was working in the mines, and I found out a group of young people, about a dozen of them, and they didn't have a pastor. They were being led by an older lady, not very old, actually a single lady. She was 35 years old, I was 22 years old. And she was leading this congregation of young people. When she knew that I'm a preacher, he said, Brother Valdez, since you're the elder man here, and you're married, and you have experience in preaching and leading Bible studies, would you do the preaching for all the services? And I said, if I'm not offending anyone, and if you want, if you like to hear me preach. And he said, no, I like to hear you preach, and I like what you're teaching to our young people. So I've been leading that. And so one evening, it was our prayer meeting. Prayer meeting is on Tuesday nights, 7 at night. We didn't have our own place. We were meeting in the back porch of a public school, elementary school. And that particular Tuesday night, I went there early, fixed up things, and I waited for people. And the rain just started pouring for continuous about an hour. And I said, I wish I can just run out of here to my quarters, but my quarters was about probably almost a mile away. And it's raining and they have umbrellas. And I said, I'll just wait until the rain stops. About 8:30, somebody came in and she said, this lady was 35 years old, single lady. I was so scared because someone could cook up some gossip about her and me. I mean, we were here in the back porch of a public school, hidden from everyone's view. And so what are these two guys doing here? A man and a woman. it's raining. So I said, I was tempted to say, sister, just go home. But then I realized that she came that evening because she wanted to be in the prayer meeting. The only thing is she was late because of the rain. So I said, okay, sister, just sit there. I led singing. I led singing. I led prayers. We always have offerings every service. So I took the offerings, I prayed for the offerings, and I preached. I did not give an invitation because I'm afraid I will be the one to come forward during the invitation too. But I said, Lord, thank you for allowing me to have this experience and opportunity. Wherever you take me, if there's just one person listening, I wouldn't mind. I'm going to preach your word because your word is powerful. Amen. And I know whether it's just one person listening, I know that it is never in vain. I may not live to see the fruit of what I have labored for while on earth, but I know that you take care of that. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. You know what? That's what I love about God. That what He promises, it may take a while before we are able to see it realized, but we will have what He has promised. Increase is forthcoming. It says here, when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. What do we find here? We see the increase, we see the impact or the influence. Some people are saying, Pastor, what kind of mustard seed is that it has become a tree? I tried to look into this, and I realized that this kind of mustard is not like the ordinary mustard plant we know. Mm-hmm. What we know from the Philippines, what I knew as mustard, they are just some green vegetables that would taste a little bit bitter. Mm-hmm. That they would probably grow about, maybe to the most would be 18 inches. Mm-hmm. If it bears branches, if you allow it to bear fruit, it could grow up to about 36 inches, about a yard tall. That's the kind of mustard plant I know. But I made a little study on this, and I realized that this is something else, a different kind of mustard. This is actually a mustard plant, or a mustard tree, that when it grows, one branch, okay, one branch, if you cut the whole branch, it would be sufficient to make a shed, provide shade over this space. Mm-hmm. So it is not a small plant. It is a big plant. And that's why it is a common plant in that part of the world during those times. But how did this big tree become a tree as big as this? It started little. Just like this church. Amen. Zechariah said, let's not despise the beginning of small things. The day of little things. If we be faithful, we will see the day and time when God will increase our influence. Okay? Not only, you look here, not only is this a big tree, we find here that according to our text, that so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. The birds are not part of the plant. They are just sojourners, or they are just passers-by. They come and lodge there. When they put their nest there, their children, their eggs hatch, and they'll have hatchlings, and they'll be able to fly, and they go to all directions. What does this say? The influence of this little seed is being spread to all different directions. I looked into your bulletin, and your pastors has mentioned about your missionaries you're supporting. There are some churches, I want to say this to you, and I hope that you've been encouraged with this, and keep on in this, that you're just beginning and you're already supporting missionaries. You know, there are many churches. They have been existing for hundreds of years, over 100 years in this country. But they are not involved at all in sending the gospel to different parts of the world where people are lost. But you are just beginning and you're already involved there. You know what? That's what a church is supposed to do. The commission to take the gospel to all the world was given to a band of 12 men. In fact, one of them was a traitor, so that makes 11. But because of their faithfulness and dedication to the cause that Jesus Christ has given them, they carried the message of the gospel to the different corners of this world. And we have been reached by them. When I look at this passage, I remember Bob Phillips. I don't know if has he been here? Okay. Bob Phillips was the pastor of Pastor Stephen and Jasmine back in the Philippines. He was my pastor. He is my pastor right now. He came to the Philippines. He never thought that there will be a guy by the name of Mike Valdez that he will come along. He will be able to meet. But he came there 30 years ago, 30 years plus ago, he came there. Lived in an insignificant town called San Fernando, La Union. Been in the church for that long, been in battle for that long. Men and women were saved, men and women were trained. You know what? The church there in San Fernando, La Union, other than the Valdez family in Cambodia, you have the Jun Manuel and family in Bangladesh. We have Sister Ida Masankay, a single lady in Uganda, okay? Uganda, Africa. And you have Brother Absini Garcia and Sister Jovi Garcia in Indonesia. Different parts of the world. Coming out from an insignificant investment. That insignificant investment is called Bob Phillips. You know what? God can do mighty things like that in your life as well. In this church as well. So what is needed now is that do we have the faith that God is able to make, to create and recreate something great and wonderful out of something that is very, very insignificant? Do we have that? If we have that faith, are we willing to live and act on that faith? And say, Lord, here I am. There are some things in my life that need to die, that need to be corrected. Lord, give me the grace that I will be willing to die to myself, so that I could live again unto you for your honor and glory, so that I could become the influence that you want me to be on the people around me. Lord, lead me in that. So here, what will we say? What will we do about this? What will we do about this? Do we see ourselves as insignificant? But at the same time, do we see that the God who is working in our lives has planted us here? Friends, in anticipation of your forthcoming anniversary, I want to say this. I really believe that God has placed you here. Just like that wish I have uttered years ago. I've seen Pastor Taala moderating services of Bethel Baptist Church in the Philippines. And I said, I wish this brother would surrender to me. I must confess, I didn't pray for him. But then I said, I wish guys like this. And God has brought you here. And God has brought you here together with him. Together, you are an insignificant bunch. But think about the insignificant bunch that the apostles were and how they have impacted York City, over 50 million people. The United States and the different parts of the world. If we just believe in the mighty transforming power of God working in our lives, we could be the power that God can use to reach other people. Let's all stand up and go to the Lord.
Amen.
Mhm.